Hello, welcome back to Bame Farm. I usually don't like to do these sit around and just talk at you videos. Now this would be something you could say wash your eggs to, listen to as more of a podcast and not really watch a screen. There's not a whole lot to look at, it's just me talking. And these videos usually drive me crazy, but they will, give you time to maybe browse the web or something and listen instead of just watching. Also, you can multitask. Now I'm gonna kind of address something that's been bugging me. I don't know about bugging me, but it's came up and brought to my attention indirectly, not on purpose. Nobody said, "Hey, look at this." But a fellow YouTuber shared a link to, I say, my favorite farming magazine. This is no way a sponsorship. Hopefully, I don't know if they condone this. They probably don't. I didn't ask permission. I do like their magazine, so it's nothing against them. But shared a link, and I will hopefully put the link along this video about the state of farming. I guess we'll go with that. Mostly the mental state of farming. About farmers' mental health and suicide rates are at somewhat of an all-time high, which maybe I don't know enough people in the farming community, or it's not well advertised about such things happening, because I guess I haven't been personally touched, at least in my local area, knowing anybody who has thought farming's been so tough that it was better off just to depart from this earth. So it hasn't touched me. That's, I guess, why I haven't noticed it before. And I don't know if it's that bad. At least the statistics that I came across were higher than I expected. I don't have those numbers in front of me. Try not to dwell on it. But I guess it's bad also that the neighbor dairy farm shared a link about some of the milk cooperatives mailing out letters with phone numbers for suicide prevention hotlines. So yeah, that's a I don't want to say a kick in the pants, as to how bad, say, the farm economy is. And I guess that's mostly glazed over because the number of people involved with farming versus, say, the rest of the public sector who are very disconnected from agriculture in general, sadly. I guess that's kind of why I started this channel, was to hopefully, spread the word about what happens on a farm. And don't take this as any sign. I think I'm in pretty good mental health. I think I'm fine. I'm not calling for help. Trying to spread the word in case there's somebody who is. And also, I guess part of the reason is the financials. And I don't have a big marker board with numbers strewn on it. But I guess I'll kind of give you a rundown of one of my fields of beans. You're going to have to do the math yourself, so grab yourself a piece of paper. I don't have solid numbers necessarily for the rest of, I have them all written down and I know what my cost for inputs were, but divided up over the acreage is rather tough, especially since I haven't sold much of my corn for this 2017 growing season. But last year, most of my 2016 corn was sold in 2017. So it's kind of a rollover thing. Yeah, I have corn left over, but I still had corn from the previous year sold. So that makes kind of the bookkeeping on corn a little difficult. If you're going to try to break it down growing season by growing season when it's not sold until, say, the next fiscal year. So the field of beans is 25 acres. This one was my biggest single field of beans. We'll start at the beginning. I seed at 100 pounds of bean seed per acre, and obviously varying size of bean seed, will change population a bit. Unfortunately, seeding beans is a bit of controlled spillage. So that equates to a little short of 42 units of seed, and I sourced non-GMO soybean seed. The variety I plant is called Claremont. It's a product of the university system, public domain seed. And I bought it for $24 a unit. And I think that was untreated, unfortunately. I really want a treated seed, but the variety is well developed for my area. So that's $1,000 in seed cost for that 25 acres. Now we're going to say that I sprayed it. Unfortunately, I did not, partly because of how the summer was unfolding wet-wise and having to get hay done. And the field didn't need it. There was no economic impact from weed presence. In fact, the weeds were still fairly sparse. Mostly I had more issues of having volunteer corn because there was one section of the field that, like this year, didn't get harvested until late. Not this late. It was, sometime in January when it got harvested, but it was starting to go down and we had troubles getting all the corn. So let's say $750 for spray. Now I did have this field custom harvested. I'm sure you've all seen that. We had that R50 gleaner in there. It was about $750 for custom harvesting on the field. It's like 30. Well, that says it's $35, but I kind of had to pay for a small repair because the field. I'm sure you've also seen the videos where we're cleaning up the wagon load of corn that I dumped. They kind of had a little damage to their header cart crossing that, so I kind of had to pay for some parts to fix their wagon. So say $750 for the custom harvesting. Now what other costs can we throw in there? I don't do crop insurance. It's just another throwing money away thing in my book. I guess in our area, I don't know. Either I'm too comfortable or too stupid. I don't know. But crop insurance wise, I just don't do it. I'm trying to cut cost, and this is not an economic climate to be throwing money away. Now, that being said, I do remember 2012 in the drought year, and maybe this is part of my reason of stupidity not to go with crop insurance. That we got heavy clay ground, and it held the water pretty well when most farmers were, say, in close to 50 or lower for yields on corn. We were still touching that 100 mark for whatever that's worth. So that's kind of why I don't do crop insurance. I don't see it paying off for myself. And I hate playing the system trying to get insurance money. I guess I'm too independent for that. Like, it's hard for me to ask for help on some things. Like I sometimes have, I don't know, I'm too independent, I guess. And that's, I don't know, maybe I think a lot of farmers are very independent, maybe not. I mean, always willing to lend a helping hand. I feel very independent myself. Maybe that's a product of being young and stupid, also being independent. Okay, so another cost. Now this is kind of a hidden cost. You're not directly paying for this, but at some point you had to buy the machines, had to buy the tractor, got to put fuel in it, grease it up, change the oil. And just kind of as chucking a number out there, we'll say $500 of equipment cost for the field. And that's only $20 per acre. I don't know if that's believable, but that's a very kind of back shelf cost that every farmer has, but how do you spread that out? And then at the end of the year saying, I spent this much on oil changes, fuel, repairs, and spreading it over all the acreage. And that could vary by what sort of repairs you have to do. Okay, so we'll total all that up. And we'll subtract that from yields. Now we gotta get the yields. It doesn't do us any good. Yields, we averaged about 40 bushels per acre. And now here comes another stupidity moment, make everybody mad, that unfortunately these beans didn't get fertilized either. I would like to fertilize more for beans. I mean, I'd obviously do it on corn. Just for beans, usually, growing up we had enough manure here that after we chopped silage, we'd spread manure when we planted and then plant beans. So that was our fertilizing for beans. But as I'm renting more ground, been slow. My goal has been not to take out any operating loans, and that's worked. I guess the only loan might be my school loan, still working on that, which I could have paid off coming out of college, but I didn't. Thank you, internships. They were wonderful. This is an advice for all you college people out there. Work the internships, save, 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 and be miserly. Don't go out spending it every weekend. Okay, so 25 acres, 40 bushel an acre, would be 1,000 bushel, roughly. I don't have all the weigh tickets because some of those beans got saved for us to roast because since I do use quite a few beans to feed the chickens, I probably use about as many beans as Dad does for the cows. And I think I was able to not get robbed too badly at the elevator for I think like $9.15 a bushel. So that's a nice even sort of number of $91.50 just in sales off that field. This could be a topic for another time, but we're going to throw in a tidbit about here of marketing. My marketing is holding out for the price to get better. I don't want to get caught in a situation where I've promised corn or beans to somebody and then I don't have it come up yet. I'm still getting comfortable with that. 3 years out of college and having to take care of the books myself. Not like I have a whole lot of financial stuff to fall back on. I'm floating rather than walking on a solid layer of ice. And also raising non-GMO crops, I try to sell as much farmer to farmer, especially on the corn. The beans are harder as I don't have storage yet. That's also a work in progress with those 3 other bins out there. I've been searching for bin floors. If anybody knows of bin floors for 27-foot bins, point me in that direction. Thank you. No, please and thank you. So we subtract all that on our comic book data sheet here. We subtract all that from $91.50, all the expenses of $1,000 for seed, $7.50 to spray, $7.50 for harvest, and $500 equipment cost. Now theoretically we could scratch the $7.50 for sprays, but I'll be realistic and try to make as many costs on this as possible. That leaves $61.50 after all expenses listed as income on the field, but that's not including any sort of land cost. Now this is rented ground, and I guess I'll stick with the theme of being mysterious for rent cost. Now I have talked to some farmers in various parts of the country, and I am surprised at the variance of rent. Or some places where it's very low, but knowing where they're at, say they would probably definitely have insurance because of the way the soil, like say topography, soil makeup, and the ability to catch well-timed rain showers. Now, they're still in the Midwest, not like this is down in Texas or anything. This is regionally local enough. But I guess I understand why the rent's lower. However, in a short bit of jealousy, I'd give anything just to drop ship and go to their area and farm. But that could be a total mistake if they have, say, high yield variability based on whether, because of their soil, might drain too well or be, say, down in a floodplain. Now, we'll just say around here in Southwest Ohio, farmable ground, let's just say if you wanted to buy a chunk of dirt and start farming it, you're easily looking at $5,000 an acre. If you amortize that over 30 years, that's some wishful thinking based on interest. I don't know if you get it down under $200 an acre per year for a mortgage payment, so we'll say $250. Let's just say rent is not in that ballpark. However, I guess if you're buying it, your income would be the joy of ownership and paying taxes on some dirt. Which would leave very little left out of that $61.50 as personal income. In fact, 25 times $250 would be $6,250 if I do my math right. Let's just bring up the quick little calculator. I did not prepare for that little tidbit. Let's see, 25 times 250 is $62.50. So if this land had to pay for itself based on local sale price, and I think I might be aiming a little low, unfortunately, not to mention the field isn't all tillable, that it would in fact come up at a loss of $100. And so it's a good thing now I didn't spray, so we can come back with that I would have made $650 because I didn't spray beans. If that was a field I was paying on for ownership. Now, fertilizing. We can go into agronomics and say fertilizing might have helped yields. Possibly. Yes, maybe we could have got 20 more bushel per acre. which would have been another 500 bushel and another $4,000. Now, that's not including fertilizer cost, and I don't have it figured out how much I'd spend per acre for beans on fertilizer. Hopefully it wouldn't cost me $4,000 to fertilize. And I could say maybe that would bring things into the green. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe I could fertilize and only get 10 bushel per acre. That probably wouldn't cover the cost of fertilizing this field. So, when we get back to how the numbers stacked up for this year and mortgage payments, this is all theoretical on the mortgage payments part. And it wouldn't be paying for itself. Not at all. And even if you were renting or paying for 100 acres, 1,000 acres, you'd be losing a lot more money. You wouldn't be able to pay yourself to farm. Nothing. This isn't really saying any labor cost. There is no cost written down on my funny spreadsheet here. First piece of paper I could find to jot down some notes. There'd be nothing funny about how much money you'd be losing. So which brings us back to mental state of farming in that article that I think I found a link for. It's abysmal. And there was a local meeting about the farm bill around Cincinnati, but it was more towards the city, that the farm bill is maybe a third farm related and the rest is food, which we're going to take a bit of a history lesson, go back to the Depression, that FDR's original farm bill of the New Deal was hopefully set out as a way to use excess crops, which even at that time was still a lot of wheat, probably some corn. I don't know how many vegetables, because when you think about it, say California, Florida, some of those much warmer, almost tropical areas, grow most of the food you eat as far as vegetables and fruits. I mean, how many of you decide, let's have some corn? You might have cornbread, or make something with cornmeal. A lot of times that is not number 2 yellow dent corn. That is more of a special milling variety that will mill out much smoother than the somewhat flinty or dented varieties of number 2 field corn. So a lot of the field corn is going for animal feed and ethanol. Now, I'm not going to go into political change. I'm not going to say what we need to do to, say, resurrect this. I don't know if I have good ideas. I mean, if you look at Brazil, most of their energy, at least their gasoline, is actually ethanol. But they raise a lot of sugar cane. They don't necessarily raise as much corn as we do. So, in these short coming economic times, stay safe, stay sane. And I don't want to say don't farm like I do, but as you've seen, some of our equipment isn't the prettiest, isn't the newest. It's bottom line farming, but maybe that's how you got to survive, to not put out those luxury costs for creature comforts. Now, I did buy that cab, trying to improve operator comfort. Hopefully that's a good investment to say down the road, staying out of the dust, and mostly the dust will be more of an insurance policy on my health. So I'm not breathing all the dust. But I could easily do that, say, with a $10 box of 3M dust masks, and be mildly inconvenienced by having something over my face. I guess we'll wrap this up. I hope this might answer some questions. I don't know if it sheds light any. Everybody's been doing the financial reports. I don't even know if it answered questions. In fact, I'm not sure if this makes it to the channel. I'll be surprised, but it's one of those things where you got to write a letter to yourself just to get it out of your system about what's happening. Now, granted, I will say that things came out for me this past year on the positive side. It is a good thing that I still live at home, unfortunately, because it would have not paid much of a living wage. I probably would have done better, or even working part-time at Mickey D's. Yep, that's sad. Another tidbit about, I guess, being still coming out on the plus side is that I still had most of my corn to sell. But going back, I sold a lot of last year's corn for the year 2016 corn in 2017. So yeah, I got a lot of corn in my hands still to sell. Whew, that might lead into a marketing video, which that's non-existent. So I don't have any, I don't usually forward contract too much, but that leads to me having to store corn, which could save my head at harvest if we have terrible issues like this year with machines falling apart. Oh, I love those New Hollands. I don't know why. It's all I know. I guess that's why I like them, is because that's all I've ever grown up with. So we'll sign off. See you guys later, and hope everything goes well.